Hey everybody, it's Laura from Cheer Bow Supply, and today I'm going to show you some cheer bows that I made using a new product that we have available at cheerbowsupply.com called Spangle Sequin Bow Transfers. Here we have some examples here, and a spangle is actually just a threadless sequin. You see the sparkle here with it. It's very similar to rhinestones with the sparkle that they offer, but the spangle is a sequin without a hole in it. It gives a lot of sparkle and shine. These spangles are holographic. They come in a lot of different sizes and colors, and there's a lot of different design options available. It makes a really very sparkly, blingy statement that you can add as an embellishment to your cheer bows. And today I'm going to show you how I made this cheer bow right here. This spangle transfer that's on this side here is actually over 3,000 spangles on there. If you've ever worked with rhinestone transfers before, you know that is an awful lot on there, and it's real easy to work with when it's made out of spangles. They're lightweight, they're completely flat, they have no lead in them at all, they're just made out of a PVC material. And they iron on very easily onto your ribbon. And because they're flat and lightweight, you can get a real nice crease, very smooth in the center. So I'm going to show you how I made this bow right here. So let's get started. I'm going to make a bow very similar to this one right here. The spangle transfers, there's 3,000 spangles on there, but you can see the base ribbon will show through in between the spangles. Unlike the vinyl here, when you put vinyl on a bow, typically you can't see any of the color of the base ribbon through the vinyl other than what you can see on the back. So this bow I made on black grosgrain ribbon. And I'm going to use the same exact spangle transfer that I used on this bow, but the difference is I'm going to make this one on white ribbon so that you can see the difference and how you can get a completely different look based on what your base ribbon is that you start with. So I'm using 28 inches of 3-inch white grosgrain ribbon. And your spangle transfer is going to come to you like this. It is on a clear plastic carrier sheet, which is the top, and the backing here is just used for shipping purposes because this carrier sheet is sticky. So when you get your transfer, what you would do is you would just peel the transfer sheet off of the back, and this carrier sheet is sticky, so it'll help you position it correctly on your ribbon. I've already cut this ribbon to 28 inches, so I'm going to carefully position my transfer centered right on the ribbon like that. And you can probably already see that it gives quite a different look compared to it on black ribbon. And if you weren't happy with this on this color ribbon, if you wanted to switch to something different, all you have to do, if you haven't ironed it down yet, you can still lift this up and peel it off and put it on something else. So I have it positioned on there. Just check those margins, make sure that you don't have any of the spangles that are hanging over the edge, and that you have it right on the end of your ribbon. Okay, now I'm ready to iron the transfer onto my ribbon. I'm going to use a pressing sheet. This is called a splat mat, and this will protect the transfer. And my iron, it's just a regular household iron, and I have it set on the cotton setting that, depending on your iron and your brand and the settings, it's probably the highest or second to highest setting. If I were putting some kind of design like this on a t-shirt, for example, I would want to use a heat press so that it could withstand being washed and dried and regular wear and tear. But because this is going on a cheer bow that, of course, you would not wash, we can use a regular household iron. So I have it positioned on there. I'm going to cover it with my pressing sheet. Then I'm going to take my iron and I'm going to put it directly down on my transfer. I want my surface that I'm ironing on to be firm. You don't want it to be soft, or you're going to get some ripples in the transfer tape, which is going to make it difficult to adhere the spangles. And I'm not even really pushing down hard. I'm holding the iron in position for about 8 seconds and then moving it to a new section. So just continue doing that until you have covered the entire bow strip. Okay, get that checked. Now this, before we peel this transfer sheet off, that's our next step. We're going to peel it back and make sure that all our rhinestones are adhered. This is a type of material that you will peel when it's cold. So we're going to let this cool down. We don't want to peel it when it's hot. We're probably just going to peel them right off. So we'll let this cool down for a minute. It should just take just a couple minutes. Okay, now that my transfer is cooled down, I'm going to start peeling back the transfer tape. And this you want to do slowly. You're going to start at a corner, and you don't want to just like pull it straight up and like pull it off fast. You want to try to keep it flat, pull it back on an angle. Got it caught on the edge there, okay. And you're going to pull back slowly. That's going to help make sure that you don't pull any spangles off. And if you do, as you can see, I'm not sure if you can see on the camera right there, when I started to pull back there, some of the spangles weren't adhered all the way, and that's okay, we can fix that. Because this transfer tape is sticky, you haven't lost any of the position of those. So all you need to do is put your transfer tape back down, and what I usually do is I cut off the transfer tape that was over spangles that are completely adhered and good, and just trim it right before you had some of the spangles lift. You may not have any spangles lift. If you covered the whole thing with even pressure and 8 seconds on each, you really shouldn't have any lift up, but I must have missed this spot right here. So I'm going to trim the transfer tape, put it back down, and I'm going to give this section about another 8 seconds to iron. Alright, I've trimmed away the top here, which adhered nicely, and put my pressing sheet back on top. Now I'm just going to hold my iron for 8 seconds on top of that place, and then we'll allow it to cool again and start peeling the transfer tape off again. Okay, now I've repressed that area. My transfer tape and ribbon have cooled down, so I'm going to continue to pull the transfer tape slowly off, nice and low, not an angle. And as you can see, that one area that I had a little trouble with before is now nicely adhered to the ribbon, and it looks like all the rest are too. So there we go. We've got the spangle transfer adhered to the ribbon, and we're ready to continue with the bow. Now on the other side of this bow, I'm going to be putting a metallic, silver metallic vinyl. And I have it pre-cut. We have these also available in pre-cut strips. So I'm putting it on the other side of my ribbon. So I'm just aligning it to make sure it's square and lined up with the edges. And it's okay that we have this space in between the spangle transfer and the vinyl. This is it won't be visible on your finished bow. This is the back, and it will actually help us keep the crease centered. So we just align that onto your ribbon. And again, use your pressing sheet to cover that. And you're going to put your iron straight down. Be careful not to rub it back and forth so you don't move your vinyl strip. And this you really only need about 3 or 4 seconds in each spot. Now this you don't have to wait till it's completely cool to peel, but you do want to wait until you're not going to, till it's cool enough to handle, of course. Okay, now the vinyl's cooled a little bit. Vinyl does have a plastic carrier sheet on top, just like the spangle strips, so you want to peel that off. Okay, now we're ready to crease and tie the bow. For cheer bows, I always use a zip tie for the center. Holds it very strong and secure, and until you snip it, it will not ever come done. So I'm going to go ahead and trim the tails first. Fold the ribbon in half and cut on an angle so we get the nice fishtail look. And what's nice about the spangle strips is it has a guide there for you. So fold the ribbon in half and then cut just underneath the outline of the spangles. Now I'm just going to do a basic cheer bow fold. I'm going to start by creasing the front. Turn it so you can see. Now don't worry about this back part quite yet. What I'm looking for here is that the tails are even. And what I do is I cross them and then I measure right here. And as long as they're even, your finished bow should turn out with even length tails. So let's see, this one is about 4.5 inches, and this one is only about 4.25 inches. So you can either shorten this one or lengthen this one. And I'm going to pull the silver vinyl side just a little bit. Make sure that this is even now. This is 4.5 inches on this side, and 4.5 inches on this side as well. Now I don't want to lose this, so I'm going to hold that tight, make sure it doesn't slide. I'm going to hold the ribbon like this, and I'm going to move the back piece. I'm going to slide it down completely behind the crease center. We don't want it sticking up like this when you crease the center of your bow. So slide the back down so you can't see it from the front, and then check and make sure that your crease is lining up in the center of the space in between the spangle strip and the vinyl. That's how that space in between there really helps you keep your bow proportional and sized right. Now to crease the center, I'm going to fold it back. I think of these as kind of like mountains and valleys. I'm going to fold it completely in half backwards, and then the top I'm going to fold it up and then back again. I'm going to hold that tight and then do the same thing underneath so you have a crease like that. And take your zip tie, continuing to hold that tight, and carefully wrap it around the center. But don't pull your zip tie completely tight just yet. Make sure it's closed enough that your bow will retain its shape, but just in case you need to make any adjustments, sometimes you can make some minor adjustments with the if the zip tie isn't completely tight yet. So I'm going to look at my bow and make sure everything is how I want it to look. I'm looking to make sure that the tails look even and the loops look even. If any of this is off, if it's really completely off, if anything's slid, you can just cut the zip tie and fold it again. Okay, now that I've made sure that my tails and my loops are even, and I'm happy with how the center crease looks, I'm going to go ahead and finish tightening that zip tie. And you really want to make sure that you tighten it as much as you can do. That will ensure that your bow will hold its shape. And after you do that, make sure that the part, there's kind of like a chunky part on the back that you pull the zip tie through. Make sure that part is on the back of your bow. And then you can trim off the extra piece of the zip tie. Now we're ready to add the center and the hardware. I'm going to add a plain white ponyo to the back. So I'm going to flip my bow over. I'm going to use a glue gun. Put some glue on the back. And then I'm just going to hold the ponyo in place. The glue dries pretty quick there, and sometimes I just put a little bit of glue over it just to kind of seal that in place. And we're going to wrap the center around that. For the center, I'm using a piece of 3/8 glitter velvet ribbon. And this is like a sparkly royal blue. And I like to put my centers on with double-sided tape. This is D670 tape. It's like an industrial strength double-sided tape. So you just put glue, or put the tape actually on the back. And I just put it on part of this because that's much more ribbon than I need for just the center. And this tape, it has a paper back once you put it on your ribbon that you just need to peel that off to expose the adhesive. So I start on the back, put it right over that ponyo you just put on, and carefully wrap it around the front and to the back again. I have more than I need there, so I will trim that. And then just place the excess down like that. So we have our spangle. This is a TikTok bow. It has two different sides. We have the spangle side that's nice and sparkly, and then we have the metallic vinyl side. And one last step to do is to heat seal your ribbon edge that you cut. That I'm going to use a wood burner, because you definitely don't want that to fray. You just use a wood burner and just lightly touch the edge of the ribbon, and that will melt it just slightly. That will keep that looking nice. Now the vinyl side, by the nature of the vinyl, it does kind of just seal it in and of itself. But I do like to run a wood burner just very, very lightly, just to make sure, especially right at the points at the end, because if you're going to get any fraying on the vinyl side, that's where it'll happen. Okay, so my bow is all ready. And comparing it to a very similar bow I made using black ribbon, and this one is white ribbon, you can see how that base ribbon really makes a big difference with your spangle transfer for how that will turn out. They both look really, really cool. The silver pops a little more with the dark color on the back, and you can see more of like the blue and the pattern on the white ribbon. And these spangle strips are available at cheerbowsupply.com. And if you like our video, be sure to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any new videos that we add. And thanks for watching.